Hello, this is the I don't know, YouTube channel, and I'm gonna be doing an NCAA tournament bracket today, and right before the games start later on this afternoon. I wanted to get it up earlier, but I didn't. But so go ahead and get into it. So for the East region, I really like Siena. I really love their offense and the way they move the ball around, and I'm not mistaken, I think I wrote down that they play pretty good defense. Yeah, they play pretty good defense too. They don't have a lot of size, not a ton of physicality, but I really like them. But Duke's probably the most talented team in the whole tournament, so I'm going with Duke. I'm going with Ohio State over TCU. They play good on defense. They have an elite offense, a lot of talent. John Mobley, Bruce Thornton, Devin Royal, a lot of good players. Their freshman power forward slash center. I can't remember his name, but they got a lot of good players, and I think they're a better team than TCU. So I'm gonna go with Ohio State right there. So next, St. John's, Northern Iowa. I think St. John's is one of the best teams in the whole tournament. They have an elite offensive system, an elite defense. They play so hard on defense, very physical. I love Zuby Ejiofor. I think Ian Jackson is very underrated. And I mean, I know shooting isn't a thing, but I'm not really as worried about that personally. I just think they're way too much for Northern Iowa. Honestly, I mean, not that Northern Iowa is a terrible team, but I think there's a lot of teams below the 12 seed that are better than them, like Cal Baptist up next, or North Dakota State, or a Tennessee State. I think could be better 12 seeds, but I don't know if they really have the resume to be 12 seeds. But anyways, I think St. John's to take care of that. Kansas and Cal Baptist. I really like Cal Baptist. They're undersized, but they got a lot of skill on the outside. They really defend. I think Cal Baptist is one of the better small school teams in the tournament. I love their offensive system. They spread the floor. Like I said, they got a lot of guys who get into their shooting positions really well off the catch, off the dribble. They can make plays. But I think size is going to hurt them against Kansas. And Kansas, they just have so much guard talent, honestly, with Peterson and the guy named Melvin something. He's a transfer from St. Bonaventure, and Wagner, Melvin Council. Their bigs do a decent job. Badunga and Tiller, even though I think they're a little undersized. Trey White does good. He's physical for his size, and I just think Kansas is too much for Cal Baptist. So Louisville, South Florida. From the stuff I looked up, and I love Louisville at full strength. It seems like Mikel Brown is going to play to me. They keep saying he's making great progress. They sat him out so that he could play this tournament. I think their deep shooting ability separates them, and I'm going to say that, rust isn't going to be a factor, especially against South Florida. South Florida's a decent team, a little undersized, but I don't really think they're that special, honestly. But I'm going with Louisville. Michigan State, North Dakota State. I really like North Dakota State. And for a lot of these schools, a lot of these small schools I wish they got matched up with different people North Dakota State really plays defense really well, but um, I just think Michigan State's just too much for them. The physicality, especially, and the talent. I love Antoine Carr. I think they struggle to score the ball a little bit, but I'm going with Michigan State. UCLA and UCF. I'm just not into the way UCF plays, honestly. They're one of my least favorite teams in the whole tournament, big or small team. And I just think they play kind of wild, honestly. They don't have a lot of control of the ball. I don't know if it really goes into their turnover numbers. I don't know what their turnover numbers are. But I just don't think they're that great of a team. I'm really not super high on UCLA either, but I'm a lot higher on UCLA than UCF. So, on UCLA, UConn over Furman. UConn has one of the best defenses, if not the best defense, probably the second best one I could think of in the whole tournament. Very physical. And their offensive system has ran well. They have so much talent. Harris Reed and the backup freshman big and DeMary. I think from what I could see, I think DeMary was gonna play solo ball. So I love UConn, and that's what I'm going with right there. So no upsets right there. Going to the next region. Florida and Prairie View A&M. I love Florida. I think, with what a lot of teams do that have good defenses with their ball pressure and their physicality. And Florida has a lot of the physicality and maybe in a rebounding way, in the physical box out way. But what Florida does really well is if you take the ball into the paint and you bring it down low, they're good at getting hands on it. They're good at collapsing on it to where, you're going to lose the ball or you just really can't do anything in the paint. They cover the paint so well. I wish they got the ball to their star big man, who I can't think of his name right now. Not Hoff or whatever, but let me see his name. I pull it up and it's coming up with a 7'9" guy, but that's not what I'm trying to see. Which I kind of wonder why he doesn't get playing time sometimes, but Alex Condon. I wish they got the ball to him more, but anyways, they're still really, really good team. Prairie View A&M, I don't know. To me, they turn the ball over too much to be that great. Just not a lot of talent compared to the teams in the NCAA. Clemson and Iowa, I really love Clemson's team. I think they move the ball well on offense, and they really play all out on defense. So I really love their team, and that's who I'm gonna go with. I really like Iowa, too. Their offensive system is really good. They got a lot of players who can handle it, who can do a lot of things. They play defense. They play defense really well. I'm just going with Clemson right here. Vanderbilt and McNeese. I'm not that high on McNeese, but I wasn't that high on them last year. And then they went out and beat Clemson. So, Vanderbilt's solid. So I'm going Vanderbilt. Nebraska and Troy. Nebraska has one of the best offenses to me. They're physical down low. I'm just not that high on Troy, so I'm going Nebraska. North Carolina VCU. North Carolina doesn't have Caleb Wilson anymore. who is a big help, but I still think they got enough to get by VCU. Illinois, Penn. Illinois is one of the best teams in the country to me. Penn really doesn't have that much this year. Not one of the better Ivy League teams that's come out the past few years to me. Than the Yale teams, especially 2 years ago, I think, when they beat Auburn. But I got Illinois. Probably not better than a lot of those Princeton teams that didn't make it either. I really like Texas A&M. I like the way they play offense and defense. I think they got a lot of talent with the transfer from Creighton. I can't think of his name, but they just play hard. I love St. Mary's too. They got a guy that might be like 7'2" or something. They really could give him the ball more. He's really good. And then they got bigs coming off the bench, and they got a really good team. They have a slow offense, but they get what they want out of it every single time. But I love Texas A&M. Houston, better than Idaho to me. I think they'll take care of Idaho. Probably the best defense and the most physical team on the whole tournament. I'll try to speed up. I got Arizona over Long Island. Arizona is just so dominant down low. Even the Houston coach, I think, said it in their tournament game. It's not really their height; it's that their girth. Their guys are so big. So, and Long Island's probably one of the worst teams in the whole tournament. To me, they just play. They don't take care of the ball that well. I got Villanova. Villanova really spreads it out and shoots the ball. They don't have a lot of size, but and they're missing Matt Hodge, their power forward, who's a small power forward. So, but I think they'll beat Utah State. Utah State doesn't have the offensive system that Villanova has to me, even though they got a good one. And I just think that's why Villanova's going to win. Wisconsin at High Point. I got Wisconsin, even though I think them losing their big man Winter is going to hurt a lot. And I like High Point, but I still think Wisconsin's good enough to pull it out. So High Point's a good defensive team. But I'm still going with Wisconsin, even with the injuries. I got Arkansas. Hawaii's not a bad team. But I still think Arkansas is just too talented to for Hawaii to beat them. I got Texas over BYU. I'm really high on Texas because I really like BYU. I like what BYU does defensively and offensively, and I think their two guards, they lost Dawson Baker and Richie Saunders, are not as big of losses as everybody thinks they are. And when you get a player like AJ Dybonson and talent around them, I think they're a really good team. But I love Texas. I love the way they play offense, the way they play defense. Their players, Dalen Swain and number 12, I think, from last year. Their short guard, and I can't think of their names right now, but Nick Cody and the transfer from FAU. I think they got a really good team. I got Gonzaga over Kennesaw State. Kennesaw State's fine, but Gonzaga just plays defense really well, offense really well. I think that's too much of a uphill battle for Kennesaw State. I got Miami over Missouri because I don't think Javon Porter's going to play, last I saw. And if he was playing, I would pick Missouri. But I got Miami because of their defense mainly. Purdue. I got Purdue over Queens. Just the way they play defense, the way they play offense. They get the ball to Kaufman, I think is their star big man's name. They get the ball to him a lot, and they have one of the best defenses in the country. Queens is solid, but I don't know with Purdue. I got Michigan over Howard. I'm not a huge Michigan guy, but I definitely have them beating Howard. I got Georgia over St. Louis. I'm not that high on St. Louis. I'm high on Georgia because Georgia is really good defensively. They really compete defensively. I think their center, Cyril, doesn't play quite hard enough, but the other guys make up for it. So I got Akron over Texas Tech. Because JT Toppin is not playing, if JT Toppin was still on the team, I would take Texas Tech, but I just think Akron's a better team than them without JT Toppin. Akron runs a good offense, has a good defense. They got some size on the inside. Got a transfer from Ohio State and his brother McCaffrey, or something. Maybe it's not McCaffrey, but it's something like that. Good guards. I mean, they're a good team, and I just think they're a better team. With everything that's going on with Alabama, with Aiden Holloway, I just think that's too much of a loss for them to overtake Hofstra. I really like Hofstra. They have probably the best size for a small team. And, I think that's a problem for Alabama too, because Alabama doesn't have a lot of size. I think Alabama is a better team than Hofstra, even without Aiden Holloway, but I think just the sudden loss of having Aiden Holloway, I think Hofstra could take advantage of that and take down Alabama. I'm gonna take Tennessee over Miami, Ohio, and I really like Miami, Ohio, and I'm glad they got in the tournament. And I really liked SMU. I probably would have had SMU winning some games if SMU won. But I'm glad Miami, Ohio got in the tournament and won, because they were definitely a tournament caliber team. They're better than a lot of these teams in the tournament. I just think Tennessee and their size and their physicality is just too much. I got Virginia over Wright State. I don't think Wright State's that great, and I think Virginia's pretty good. Wright State really plays defense, but I just don't think they're that talented. Virginia's talented. They got a lot of their guys can really handle the ball. They play good on defense. They have some physicality, so I got Virginia winning that game. Kentucky and Santa Clara. I got Kentucky. Even with the loss of Jalen Lowe for a while, I still think they're too talented for Santa Clara. Santa Clara turns the ball over too much to me. I got Iowa State over Tennessee State, and I really wish Tennessee State would have played somebody different, because I love Tennessee State, and they're probably the best jump shooting team in the whole tournament. And I would have picked them to upset somebody, but I really love Iowa State. I love the way they play defense. I think their defense has improved from previous years, because they've always kind of been a little overrated to me. But this year they really get after you on the defensive end, and they really move on the offensive end. And I love Iowa State, and I always have a problem saying Iowa. So I'm going Duke over Ohio State. I just think they're one of the best teams in the country. Like I said, super talented. Dame Sarr, Kamenya, Cameron Boozer, Caden Boozer. And I don't think the loss of Caleb Foster will hurt them too much. I got St. John's over Kansas. I just think their offensive system and their defense is just too much, and they're so talented. I like Kansas, but I don't think they're as physical as St. John's. I'm going to take Louisville over Michigan State. If we're saying Michael Brown is going to be there, I think Michigan State has problems scoring the ball. But if Michael Brown's not there, then I don't know. I got UConn over UCLA. Not, like I said, not really that high on UCLA, and I think UConn is amazing. So I'm taking the upset. I'm taking Clemson over Florida. And I love Florida, and I think this could be a great game. I know Clemson's really undersized, but they're very physical. And I think the physicality and the defense will end up beating a really, really good team who I like in Florida, who I wish they weren't playing Clemson so early. Vanderbilt and Nebraska. I'm not that high on Vanderbilt compared to where most people would probably have Vanderbilt. So I really like Nebraska, and I love their offense, and I'm picking Nebraska right there. North Carolina, Illinois. I said North Carolina doesn't have Caleb Wilson, but honestly, I would pick Illinois anyways. I love Illinois. I love their two-star people coming over from Europe, Petrovic, and I forgot the other guy's name, but the big man. They're really good. They're a really talented team. And I think they got a good chance to make some noise in this tournament, play good defense. So I like Illinois. Alright, so I really like Texas A&M. I hate that they're playing Houston. So, yeah, I mean, I would pick Texas A&M against most teams, but Houston's just the best defensive, most physical team out there, so I got Houston. Arizona, Villanova. Really like Villanova, but Arizona's just so physical, and they're one of the best teams in the country. So, Wisconsin, Arkansas. I think I'm gonna go with Arkansas. I just think they got so much talent. They play defense. Wisconsin's big man is hurt, so I'm going with Arkansas. Texas, Gonzaga. Like I said, I'm really high on Texas more than most people, and just their defensive ball pressure, their offense. I'm going Texas right here. Purdue. I love Purdue's game, and I got them here. I just think they're better than Miami. Much more physical, more talented. Michigan and Georgia. Like I said, I'm not that big on Michigan. When you got three humongous big men in Morez Johnson Jr., the transfer from UCLA, and then Lindenberg, to me that just stagnates your offense when you have three centers. And Lindenberg is just so often on the outside where he can't do anything because he really can't dribble like a guard. And he's just out there and they're just stuck. And he's throwing baseball passes all the way to the inside, which it works. They have so much sides which it works. I don't think that's going to be able to stand against some of these teams in the tournament. But anyways, Hofstra and Akron. So I really like Hofstra, and they got the opportunity to me because of sadly Aiden Holloway's absence, and I think they're a better team than Akron. Their size is they're just tough. They're physical. They're two big men that they use, and they have four guards around them. They got some guards that could play. But I think their size is the big thing. And they play good defense as well. And I love Akron. I love Akron as one of the best offenses probably. And I got Hofstra. Tennessee and Virginia. Sticking with Tennessee, I just think they're a better team than Virginia. So yeah, they're just more physical than Virginia. Kentucky, Iowa State. Like I said, I really love Iowa State. And I just think, even though they're probably less talented than Kentucky, I just like their defense and their offensive system. All right. Duke at St. John's. Like I said, Duke is the most talented team. And that's not everything. The way St. John's plays offense, the way they play defense, the way they're physical. I got St. John's. And St. John's is honestly one of the most talented teams too. Osiah Sellers. They just got a really, really good team. Players everywhere. So, I got UConn. UConn and St. John's are very similar in the way they play defense, and the way they play fast on offense with their motion offenses and sets and stuff. They really get a lot of body movement, ball movement, and they're both very physical. And Terrace Reed is, one of many reasons why I think they're one of the best teams in the country. So, Clemson, Nebraska. I just like Clemson's offensive system, their defensive system. They've really upped how they move the ball this year. Carter Welling's hurt, but I don't think it's going to be a big enough loss to really affect them. He was like a solid player, but I don't think he was like a necessary piece for them to go far. I love Nebraska. I love their offense. I love their physicality. But I got Clemson. I got Houston over Illinois. Love Illinois. Love their talent. But Houston, Kelvin Sampson just gets them to play too hard, too great on offense. Love Houston. Arizona, Arkansas. I got Arizona. Arkansas runs a 4-guard lineup sometimes with Thomas, Acuff, Wagner, and Richmond, and I don't like that. I don't. I just think they're too small when they do that. Their defense isn't quite consistent enough. To me, it's great, but if you want to beat teams like Arizona and you're undersized, to me, your defense has to be, on another level. So I got Arizona. Texas and Purdue, going the upset. I'm going Texas. I think Mac is the number 12 I was thinking about earlier. He's really good. They got a lot of good players. Some returners from last year Swain came over from Xavier. Traore was hurt. He was another transfer from Xavier, but I think they got the big man depth to take care of that. I think that will be a really good game, but I just think Texas, honestly, is a little more talented than Purdue, even though they haven't really shown it with their record this year. Georgia and Hofstra. I got Georgia. I love his defense. I love their defense. They got a nice offensive system too, and I just think their defense is just too much for Hofstra. Tennessee and Iowa State. I think Tennessee might be the more talented team with Berg and the transfer from Maryland and all that, but I think Iowa State is the better team because how they play defense, how they play offense. So, I got UConn over St. John's. I just think they're more talented when it comes down to it. They're big men. The freshmen and Terrace Reed, or Reedinger, I forgot his name, but they're really good. They have talent on the outside as well, so I just think they're a better overall team. Their defense is probably a little better too. So Clemson to Houston, making Clemson make a big run, but Houston's just too much for them right here. Texas and Arizona. I'm gonna go with the upset again. Really love Texas, love their talent. That'll be a tough one with Arizona's size, but I'm gonna go with the upset with Texas beating Arizona in the Elite Eight. Iowa State and Georgia. I think Iowa State's offensive system is a little bit better than Georgia's, and probably their defense too. So I'll take Iowa State. So 3-2 seeds and 11 seed. I'm going to say UConn's a little better team than Houston, but it's so close. To me, those are honestly the top 2 teams in the country. And I'm going with UConn. And then here, I'm going to go with Texas again. I think they played hard both on offense and defense. I think Texas, honestly, is a little more talented, even though they haven't shown it. And right here, I'm going UConn to beat Texas. That's my. Let me see. I'll say 122. So that's my bracket. Got Texas going to the championship, so we'll see about that. But anybody who listened to this all the way through or partially or anything, thank you, and have a good one.